Oh, guys, if you only just saw what I just did, it was pretty funny.
It was a blooper. We'll save that for our
We'll
blooper.
save that blooper, but hey, Alaska.
Oh, you recognize that right
I
off.
have recognized that
And
Alaska
you know
picture.
what? That's a barn.
That's a darn good image
That's
right
a
there.
barn.
A darn good
Oh
image.
my God.
Oh,
If
so
people knew what I have to put up with.
no, what I have to put up with. Okay, what do you want to talk about? You had an
Okay,
idea.
today we're going to do point counterpoint. It used to be a TV thing where they would take a few minutes and argue a point from two points of view. It's important to hear both sides. And I always preferred the Saturday Night Live version with Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin, for those of you who can remember that far back.
We can't say that one thing that Dan used to say, though.
If all of you can remember what I'm not saying, which Dan Aykroyd would say to Jane Curtin. Um, so the topic today is photographic celibacy. I'm going to defend it, and you're going to try to tear it apart.
uh, no, I think everybody is clear on your position. I'm going to defend photographic celibacy. And I'm saying I'm going to defend photographic celibacy. And you're going I can't even remember what I'm going to do, but
You
that's
got two
exactly
options.
what I'm going to do.
You know, straight. So you're saying, John, if I understand you correctly, that I'm going to try to tear apart
Yeah.
photographic
Yeah.
celibacy, and you're
Yeah.
going to try to defend it.
I'm
We're going
defending it.
to role reverse so that we can both appreciate the other's point of view.
We're keeping this episode just the way it
Okay.
is.
Go ahead. Try to defend such a stupid idea.
You know why I love, so for me, photographic celibacy is critical because I do not want my vision, which is critical and important to me, to be influenced by other people's work. And anytime, and I postulate this, Cole, not only for me, but everybody will benefit from photographic celibacy because they tell me that they are not going to be influenced, but I promise you they're being influenced. And so that's first and foremost for me with photographic celibacy is you cannot sit here and tell me that you can look at other people's work and have it not influence you. You can't.
You're saying your vision is so weak it can't withstand the looking at another person's images. Well, that doesn't sound like a very firm foundation you've built your photographic career on, John.
Cole, it has nothing to do with it. I want to be creating honest work, be true to myself. Why do I need other people's vision to influence my vision? That doesn't make any sense to me. It has nothing to do with being weak. I think you're the weak one who has to look at images to get freaking inspiration.
John, you ignorant. um, Let me ask you something. Where did your vision come from, John?
It came from Cole Thompson. No, it came from years and years of thinking about what I want my images to look like.
And to look at years and years of looking at other photographers' images. They influenced you. They are a part of your vision. They made you what you are today.
I think there's some truth to that. I can't argue that because I did in my early years, I looked at Ansel Adams and Weston and those people. But there came a time where I just needed to stop because I could tell that I was being influenced by, you know, trees in a field that had certain looks to them, and I would go look for those trees in a field or lone telephone poles in the prairie and stuff like that. And I realized those were not my original ideas. So you're right. There's probably some influence earlier in my career. I like black and white probably because of Ansel Adams. But I'm trying now. I think the photographic celibacy allows me to produce honest work.
What you forget is that all art is built upon those great artists that came before us. It's incremental. They do something, we see it, it spurns a new idea, and we just keep improving and doing something different and better. Without, if you're working on a blank slate, what are you creating?
I'm creating what's right in here, what's in my vision, what's in my vision, not what's in my eyes can see.
You've convinced me. I'm going celibate. Look, I tried to say all the things I heard other people say, but it makes no sense to me. I mean, it was the best thing that I ever did. I really thought I would do it for a year or two until I had found my vision. Then I would go back to my old practices, but it just doesn't feel right for me to go back immersing myself in other people's vision. It's just not only influential, but then the ideas, as I've said before, if I would have seen somebody, if you would have taken a single cloud photo and showed it to me, and I go, wow, I love that. I'm going to go do a portfolio. That would have been the most dishonest thing I could have ever done.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking with it. And I know I'm in the less than 1% minority, but it makes so much sense to me that I really don't understand why others don't appreciate it.
But how do you respond to the comment I've made to you that you were incredibly, even in your Why Black and White lecture, which is phenomenal? You talk about that you love Campanagro's images, Weston's, and you show those images that you're so that has to be part of your vision.
I think you answered it. Of course it is. But it came a point where I needed to grow past that and beyond that and not just be a me too, a mini me.
Yeah,
Uh, and I really dislike the argument that you must build upon those in the past. I understand to some degree that's true, but I want to create something new that's something that is me.
yeah,
Will I be successful at that? I don't know. But if I don't try to be original and try to put my past behind me, I would hate myself for never having tried. It
yeah.
just makes so much sense to me.
And I'm more and more and more in your camp with regard to if I would have seen those three windows inside that church in the Faroe Islands done by somebody else, there's no way I could honestly do that image. Right.
Yeah.
I can. And we talked about it that people went in there and did that same image. I do understand that because I was at that place where it was okay. But I really am finally at the place where and as evidenced by our previous episode where we're at the same location, I'm not looking through your viewfinder to get ideas. You and I both did images from Jekava and they were different, and that is much more satisfying. And I remember being in South Africa with Farrell McCullough, a dear friend, and I kept on looking through his viewfinder and Nancy's viewfinder and everybody else. And he finally looked at me and says, John, stop. And I said, but I have to because I need to go home with a good image. I've been spending all this money to go to South Africa. I want to go home with good images. He said, no, wouldn't you rather go home with images that you're proud of, that
Mm.
you made without any influence from anybody else? That's what you should be doing. That was a pivotal moment for me. And essentially he was saying, stop looking at everybody else's work here on this trip and make your own work. And when I think about the tours that we do, that is what we're encouraging people to do. I mean, some people get a little annoyed because we're not saying, hey, look over here, the shot's here. This is a good shot here, because they want that direction. But it's so important for you and I to have them find their own vision at those locations than for us to say, here's my vision.
It's fun to see those individuals who wander away from the group.
Yeah.
Now, another argument I've heard frequently is that by not looking at photographs, I'm not getting inspiration. A lot of people say they're inspired. And people act as though there's no other way to get inspiration than looking at another photographer's photograph. There
Yeah.
is art, there is sculpture, painting, there is nature.
Yeah.
Why do we need to look at someone's interpretation of a flower? Why can't I just look at the flower and find my own inspiration? And I'll grant you, it is the way that it has always been done. But to me, that's not a good enough reason to continue with doing it the same way.
Yeah.
So
And I,
I,
and I, you do have one person that kind of did it for a good period of time, and that was Sarah Marino. I mean, she felt she benefited from that time. And in all honesty, I think if I look at her work, I could see that shift. And I adore Sarah, and I adore Sarah's work. And she has a body of work in my mind that is uniquely hers. I know Sarah Marino's work when I see it, and to me that happened significantly when she chose to, for a couple of years, I think it was, to really try not to look at other people's work and determine what was it that her work wanted to be. And I think that's the main invitation. And I know it's hard, and I know, and I'm not going to be totally celibate, But I certainly, as I just attested to here, there's parts of it that I do now understand and that I do try to employ so that I'm not copying at least what somebody else is doing on a location, or I don't go look at the guidebooks or pictures before I necessarily go anymore as well. So, anyways, be interesting to see what people say. Go ahead.
That barn, I'm going to find that barn in the Palouse and shoot it from the inside so I can recreate your three
Three
windows
windows.
at the church in
You could do five, seven windows.
that's not copying. You did three.
If
I
you do five, it'll be different.
yeah. Okay. We went long here.
Comments. Give us comments.